Hello everyone. There are many people who want to learn to speak in English. There are some people who can understand English but they find it difficult to speak in English, right? So today's video will be very useful for everyone who wants to learn to speak in English. So if you are one of them, then I'll request you to not go anywhere and watch this video without skipping. Welcome to my channel Explore More and Learn. Today's topic will be 5 useful tips to start speaking in English. So today I am going to discuss very different but very useful tips to start speaking in English. So let's start. Let me tell you, this video is for anyone who thinks how to speak in English, who's a non-native speaker and learning English as a second language, and who has never studied in English medium school. I am telling this because it becomes easier for an English medium student to speak in English. But I don't mean to say that a person who has never studied in English medium school cannot speak in English. No, because there are many students who have attended English medium school, then also they find it difficult to express themselves in English. Yes, you might have heard that you should have very good grammar base and you should have huge collection of English words to speak in English. But what to do if you want to speak in English but you are not very good at grammar? Here I don't mean to say that you don't know grammar at all. Suppose you know only basic grammar rules and you don't have huge collection of English words. Then how to start to speak in English? In that case, you should follow this tip that you should have ability to communicate. How will it work? I'll explain. But before that, you should know what is communication. Why should you have ability to communicate? Communication happens successfully when a sender sends his message or information to the receiver and receiver receives it successfully. At the same time, receiver also sends his message to the sender and they exchange their roles. That means receiver becomes sender when he sends his message to the sender and sender becomes receiver. So this is what communication. Very simple. So when you convey your message successfully to the receiver, that is communication. So if you are not very good at grammar and you don't have huge collection of English words, then also you can speak in English, you can communicate in English if you have ability to communicate. I'll explain with example. Suppose somebody is talking to you in English while watching a musical program. And he says to you, what a mellifluous voice this girl has, awesome singing. And you don't know the meaning of this word mellifluous. What will you do here? Obviously, you will guess the meaning because you are observing his expressions also, right? So, what will you guess? That this man is definitely appreciating this singer, right? Now, suppose you have to say the same sentence to that person. What will you do? Very simple step. You will replace difficult words with easy words. And how will you say that sentence? You will say, she really sings well. You are also appreciating that singer and that person also appreciated that singer, but he had his own way. He had a different word, but you have expressed the same sentence, same meaning in simple words. That's it. So, if you don't have huge collection of English words, then also you can communicate in English by using simple words. So, you will replace difficult words with easy words. In this way, you will communicate in English. So, this is what ability to communicate, which you should develop. Alright? So, tip number 2 is be natural. So you should not try to imitate native speakers initially because your primary goal is to learn to speak in English, right? In fact, those who are speaking in English, those who are native speakers, they also have their own accent, like American English, British English. In fact, in India, those who are speaking in English, they have their own accent, like South Indians have their own accent, North Indians have their own accent. So it's absolutely alright if you have your own accent. Do not try to imitate native speakers. Your primary goal should be learning to speak in English. Did you get my point? Your primary goal should be on learning to speak in English. So tip number 3 is be fluent. I have seen many people get confused between fluency and high speed. Fluency doesn't mean that you have to speak at a very high speed. Fluency means that you should maintain a good flow so that a person with whom you are communicating should understand you well. That's it. Okay, forget about English. Suppose you are communicating with a person in your mother tongue. How do you talk to that person? Do you run a marathon? No. Do you speak fast and faster? No. You communicate in that way that a person understands you successfully. In the same way, you should speak in English by maintaining a good flow. That's it. You are not running a marathon. You are not driving a super fast train. So relax and just maintain a good flow because you are learning to speak in English. That's it. So tip number 4 is be confident. If you want to learn to speak in English, you should be confident enough. You know, the biggest problem which stops many people to speak in English is lack of confidence. Those people have a kind of fear factor in their mind, what other people will think about them. Other people will laugh at them if they speak something wrong in English. So they hesitate to speak in English, thinking that other people will make their fun. So if you will think about other people, when will you think about yourself? So change your approach and ignore those people who laugh at you. You remember, how did you learn to ride on a bicycle? You fell so many times, but finally you learned to ride on a bicycle successfully, right? So we learn from our mistakes. In the same way, you will do a lot of mistakes. Just ignore your mistakes, ignore other people, and focus on your learning. So definitely one day you will start speaking in English successfully. Okay? Now the last but very important tip, that is practice. I have always emphasized on practice, practice and practice, as it's said that practice makes a man perfect, right? So just start practicing. But what should you practice? You should practice to speak in English. Unless you start speaking in English, you will not be able to speak in English, believe me. So choose a topic and speak about it in English. Describe the things around you in English. Talk to other people. Just speak and speak and speak in English every day. Make a practice to speak in English, okay? Listen to others who speak in English by watching English movies, English plays, English news channels, or English advertisement. So wherever and whenever you get a chance to listen to others who speak in English, just listen to them. When you listen to others, it improves your English speaking also. Read aloud. Whenever you read something in English, read it loudly. When you read something in English loudly, English sentences and English words are registered in your mind. And in this way, you get a practice to speak in English. Number 4, think in English. Here you can think anything in English. You can think about your next plan, your future plan, your wedding plan, about your friend, about the things around you, about any scene, about your parents, or about any topic. You can think in English. And here nobody is to stop you for your mistakes, right? So you can think anything in English. When you think in English, you get a kind of practice to speak in English also, right? So just practice to speak, to listen, to read aloud, and to think in English, okay? So these were 5 very important tips and useful tips to start to speak in English. If you like this video, then please press like and subscribe this channel. And you can read my blog post by clicking explore more and learn.com. Very soon I'll bring another tutorial. Till then, take care. Bye.